Hey, you. Yeah, you with the wandering mind and the insatiable curiosity. Tired of staying in your lane? Sick of those podcasts that stick to one boring little subject? Good, because we're about to detonate the map. Welcome, my beautiful, bewildered listeners. You've stumbled into the intellectual equivalent of a toddler's birthday party. Loud, messy, and you have absolutely no idea what's coming next. Forget your preconceived notions, kiss goodbye to your comfort zones, because here on, well, you'll find out in a second, we don't do focus groups. We do glorious, unadulterated mental ping pong. One moment, we're pondering the existential dread of a sentient dust bunny under your couch. The next, we're knee-deep in a historical reenactment of competitive cheese rolling. Seriously, anything, and I mean anything. Your brain's about to go on a roller coaster designed by a caffeinated squirrel. You, my friends, are no longer mere listeners. You are bingers. And your quest for the wonderfully weird and the fascinatingly random starts now. Let's binge the beautiful chaos.
It's the Binge Podcast where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast. Come join us fast.
And now, bingers, the moment you've all been patiently waiting for, or maybe impatiently, I don't judge. The segment where polite conversation goes to die a slow, agonizing death under the lukewarm gust of forced air. That's right, it's time for The Rant. This week, my friends, my long-suffering comrades in damp-handed frustration, we are tackling a menace so ubiquitous, so seemingly innocuous, yet so profoundly infuriating. I am, of course, talking about the technological terror that haunts public restrooms across the globe. The bane of a freshly washed existence. Prepare yourselves, because I'm about to unleash a torrent of pure, unadulterated fury upon the utter incompetence of hand dryers. Let the moisture-laden madness begin.
Cast anthem, daily grind. Thoughts unleashed, no place to hide. Passion storming every mind. Tune in, tune out, tonight we ride.
Alright, listen the hell up, people. I need to talk about something that has been festering in the deepest, darkest corners of my goddamn soul. Something so profoundly irritating, so mind-numbingly beige, for fuck's sake, that it threatens to unravel the very fabric of my goddamn sanity. I am, of course, talking about the utter, unadulterated, soul-crushing blandness of automatic hand dryers in public restrooms. Oh, the audacity, you sons of bitches. The sheer, unmitigated gall of these contraptions. You emerge from washing your hands feeling virtuous, clean, ready to face the germ-infested world, and what the fuck do you encounter? A wheezing, asthmatic robot attempting to gently caress the moisture from your skin with the force of a goddamn butterfly sneezing. First of all, the noise, you motherfuckers. It's like a tiny jet engine trapped in a plastic box, screaming its metallic lungs out. Forget any semblance of peace and quiet. Forget trying to have a thoughtful moment in the echoing cavern of the public lavatory. No, you are subjected to a high-pitched whine that could shatter glass and possibly the goddamn eardrums of small woodland creatures. And the power, you bastards, or rather, the distinct lack thereof. You stand there, hands outstretched like you're expecting a divine blessing of dryness, only to be met with a lukewarm puff of air that feels suspiciously like the breath of a goddamn bored toddler. You might as well just vigorously wave your hands in the air. You'd probably achieve the same level of dryness in approximately the same geological fucking epoch. Then there's the censor. Oh, the finicky, temperamental censor. You perform the sacred hand-waving ritual, the silent plea for dryness, and sometimes nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. The machine stares back at you with its unblinking plastic eye as if judging your dampness, the asshole. You try a more enthusiastic wave, a dramatic flourish, maybe a little hand jive, still nothing. It's a passive-aggressive battle of wills between you and a soulless fucking appliance. And let's not forget the placement, you dumb fucks. Often strategically located approximately 3 miles from the sink, forcing you to drip your way across the pristine restroom floor. Pristine, leaving a trail of dampness for unsuspecting sock wearers. It's like an obstacle course designed by someone who actively despises goddamn hygiene. And finally, the duration. The duration! You goddamn slowpoke. You stand there under the pathetic gust of air for what feels like an actual calendar year. You could have written a short novel, learned a new language, possibly even witnessed the slow decay of civilization in the time it takes for these infernal machines to even begin to make a dent in the moisture clinging to your goddamn fingertips. Give me a paper towel any goddamn day. At least it's efficient, quiet, and doesn't make me feel like I'm engaged in a slow-motion wrestling match with a hairdryer for ants, you fucking idiot machine. Automatic hand dryers, I say to you, you are an exercise in futility, a monument to mild annoyance, and a constant reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are truly the best. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go vigorously rub my still damp hands on my goddamn pants. It's faster, you hear me, you useless piece of shit. All right, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're diving headfirst into the fascinating, frustrating, and frankly slightly bizarre world of trying to assemble IKEA furniture. We've all been there, staring at that flat pack like it's an ancient alien artifact. So without further ado, here are the top 10 realizations you have while battling IKEA.
Top 10 time, it's the thrill of the night. Rankings up high, feeling safe flight. Listening close, get ready to climb. We're counting it down, it's top 10 time.
10. The instructions are less of a guide and more of an abstract art piece. Those little stick figures seem to be communicating in a language that predates human civilization. You're pretty sure that arrow is pointing towards the ceiling, but then again, maybe it's a subtle commentary on the futility of existence. 9. You develop a deeply personal and often hostile relationship with the alien wrench. This tiny L-shaped piece of metal becomes your constant companion, your tormentor, the silent judge of your increasingly questionable life choices. You start giving it names, mostly swear words. 8. The number of spare parts included suggests a fundamental lack of faith in your abilities. Did they really need to include 5 extra wooden dowels? Are they anticipating a structural collapse of epic proportions? It feels like less generosity and more like a preemptive, we know you're going to screw this up. 7. You discover hidden talents you never knew you possessed, mostly related to creative swearing. Faced with a cam lock that refuses to lock and a drawer slide that seems to defy the laws of physics, your vocabulary expands in ways that would make a sailor blush. You can now construct entire sentences comprised solely of expletives, each perfectly articulating your current level of despair. 6. The finished product looks nothing like the picture on the box. The sleek, minimalist design you envisioned has somehow morphed into a slightly lopsided, vaguely threatening structure that wobbles ominously if you breathe too heavy in its direction. 5. You briefly consider burning the entire thing and starting over with store-bought furniture. The siren song of fully assembled furniture from a real store becomes almost deafening. You fantasize about a world without tiny wooden pegs and cryptic diagrams. 4. The entire process becomes a test of your relationship. Working on IKEA furniture with a partner is either a bonding experience that proves your unwavering commitment or a catalyst for the most brutal domestic dispute since the Great Pillow Fight of 17. 3. You realize "some assembly required" was a gross understatement. It's less some assembly and more a weekend-long odyssey into the depths of flat-pack hell, requiring the patience of a saint, the dexterity of a surgeon, and the brute force of a Viking warrior. 2. You feel an unearned sense of accomplishment when it's finally done, even if it is crooked. Despite the blood, sweat, and existential tears, that moment when the last screw hopefully goes in is surprisingly satisfying. You did it. You conquered the Swedish beast. Never mind that one drawer sticks and the whole thing leans slightly to the left. It's done. 1. You swear you'll never buy IKEA again until you need another cheap bookshelf. The cycle continues. The allure of affordable, stylish, in theory, furniture is too strong to resist. You know you'll be back, Allen wrench in hand, ready to face the abstract art once more. So there you have it, the top 10 humorous realizations of the IKEA assembly experience. We've all been there, we've all suffered, and we'll probably all be back for more. Skål to the struggle. The Pilgrims. Right, so here's the goddamn thing about the Pilgrims. Those relentlessly pious bastards who apparently invented Thanksgiving in sensible footwear, neither of which is entirely accurate, by the way. You picture them, don't you? All solemn and black-clad, stepping off the Mayflower onto Plymouth Rock, with a profound sense of destiny and presumably remarkably dry socks after that oceanic clusterfuck of a voyage. The reality, as is so often the case with history, was likely a far more, shitty affair. First off, the Mayflower. Let's not romanticize this tub. It was a cramped, leaky, disease-ridden death trap. Think of the worst Ryanair flight you've ever been on. Multiply the discomfort by approximately 6 months, add the constant threat of drowning and scurvy, and then imagine sharing that delightful experience with a bunch of zealots who probably spent their free time loudly judging your questionable moral fiber. It wasn't some majestic galleon gliding gracefully across the Atlantic. It was more like a floating latrine powered by hope and a fair amount of desperation. And then there's Plymouth Rock, this iconic piece of geological real estate, the very spot where freedom, for some, eventually after a whole lot of unpleasantness for others, supposedly took root. Except here's the kicker. There's bugger all contemporary evidence that they actually landed on that specific rock. For all we know, they could have stumbled ashore on a muddy patch of seaweed or tripped over a particularly grumpy crab. The rock itself only became a big deal about a century later, sort of a historical afterthought, a convenient symbol conjured up when people started feeling all nostalgic about their supposedly heroic origins. It's like claiming your legendary night out started at that specific sticky patch outside O'Malley's. Plausible maybe, but hardly gospel. Now, these pilgrims themselves, we're taught this sanitized version of events, this heartwarming tale of religious freedom and peaceful coexistence with the indigenous population. Bollocks. These were a bunch of hardcore separatists, so uptight they probably considered smiling on a Sunday a mortal sin. They weren't exactly arriving with open arms and a basket of artisanal cheeses for the locals. Their primary goal wasn't cultural exchange. It was to create their own little theocratic bubble where they could be as judgmental and joyless as they damn well pleased, free from the perceived corruptions of the Church of England, which, good for them, I guess, if your idea of a good time involves public shaming and the constant fear of eternal damnation. And the whole Thanksgiving myth? It's this lovely narrative of pilgrims and Native Americans sitting down for a harmonious feast, which, while a harvest gathering did happen, was likely more of a pragmatic alliance born out of necessity than some heartwarming display of intercontinental camaraderie. The Wampanoag, bless their cotton socks, probably saw these newcomers as a potentially useful buffer against other, less friendly tribes. The Pilgrims, meanwhile, were probably just grateful for the free grub and the chance to not starve to death during their first brutal winter. The subsequent centuries, with their relentless westward expansion and the systematic screwing over of the Native American population, tend to get conveniently airbrushed out of the Thanksgiving story, don't they? It's like celebrating your lottery win without mentioning the crippling debt you've incurred buying the tickets. It's this weird American tendency, isn't it? This need to take these messy, complicated historical events and sand them down into neat little parables. The Pilgrims become these paragons of virtue, their arrival a glorious dawn of freedom and opportunity, when the truth, if you really dig into the primary sources, those tedious, spidery handwritten documents that nobody actually reads, is far more nuanced, far more human, full of fear, prejudice, desperation, and the occasional moment of surprising, albeit probably begrudging, cooperation. You start to think about the sheer unutterable contingency of it all. The fact that this whole damn nation, with its sprawling suburbs and its obsession with oversized pickup trucks and its baffling electoral college, hinged on this relatively small group of deeply weird individuals surviving a truly awful boat trip and then managing to eke out a living in a completely alien environment. It's almost absurd, the sheer improbability of it, like imagining the entire future of astrophysics depending on whether one particularly hungover intern manages to correctly calibrate a telescope on a Tuesday morning. The weight of it, the sheer almost unbearablesness of it all, the way that this one specific, rather grubby set of circumstances unfolded in precisely this way and not some other infinite possibility, it's enough to make your head spin, isn't it? All those other potential timelines, the one where the Mayflower sank or the Pilgrims decided to become goat herders in Spain or the Wampanoag just told them to bugger off back to Europe, the vast, branching, unlived lives. And here we are, stuck with the slightly sanitized, deeply problematic, and ultimately rather strange legacy of a bunch of religiously intense English people who probably smelled faintly of unwashed wool and existential dread. Happy Thanksgiving, you magnificent bastards! Now pass the gravy. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking and subscribing to hear more episodes every week.
You know by now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. By now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Tune in right now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast.